The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your SuperChats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Devante Adams to the Jets. What is the latest about the deal of all deals potentially going down? We'll talk with Jets insider Nick Faria in his weekly spot about that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
Well, we got to figure it out. Today took a major step back.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. It is indeed the Jake Asman Show. Please click that like button before we get started. It helps the channel grow. And if you haven't subscribed to the Jake Asman YouTube channel, please do so. Once again, I want to thank everyone who made the month of September the most viewed month in the history of the Jake Asman Show. So you guys are great. Couldn't do it without the Asmaniacs. And I look forward to seeing so many of you across the pond in London over the next couple days. If you're going to the game, if you're in the UK, come out to our party the night before. Saturday night, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Hippodrome Casino. And you Yankee fans like me, first pitch 11:30, 8 p.m. local time. The game will be on at the casino. So I'll be staying up late watching the Yankees with a bunch of Asmaniacs after the party ends at 11. So with that being said, let's say hello right now to Nick Faria, who's agreed to join us a day early because, Nick, I'm headed to London tonight. So at 9 p.m. tonight, when my flight takes off, that's when Devante Adams will be traded to the Jets.
Listen, it seems that that's going to be the case. I think it may take a little bit longer. You know, Devante Adams wants out. That is abundantly clear from yesterday. He no longer wants to be a Las Vegas Raider. But there are other issues at hand that are getting in the way of the New York Jets. And the number one point is the fact that there are a lot of teams in need of a number one receiver, a number one quality receiver like Adams. The Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders, Buffalo Bills. I saw Adam Schefter name the New Orleans Saints as a team of interest. The Kansas City Chiefs could be a team of interest. So there are a lot of teams that are in need of a number one receiver that could be interested in Devante Adams. I don't think that this is going to be a very simple case of the Jets are giving an offer, the Raiders are going to accept it, and that is going to be that. I just don't see that happening because if you're the Raiders side, you want the best deal possible. And with all these teams interested in a top receiver like Adams, you can get a lot more than the proverbial second-round pick that was essentially put out yesterday. So this is going to be a process. I don't think this is going to be a process that resolves itself today or tomorrow. This could be a multi-week issue. But very clearly, the Jets are going to be a front runner for Adams. And I think they aren't going to be the only ones either.
Adam Schefter reported yesterday the Raiders are seeking at least a second-round pick and then some in a Devante trade. And if you kind of follow how this works, you always start high and then somewhere you find like common ground. I don't think Devante would actually go for a second. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. What's your take on what the actual comp would be for a guy who's on essentially the final year of his deal because there's no team acquiring him that's going to pick up the last 2 years of his contract when he's making more money than any non-quarterback in the league?
Well, it's complex. This entire situation is complex because there are two ways to look at a deal like this. The first way is draft capital. If the team gives the Raiders a second and a third round pick, they can say, okay, this is a solid deal. If a team gives up a first round pick, they say, okay, well, we got a first round pick for Adams. We're going to walk that to the bank, whatever it is. But there's the other side of the coin, and that is the money that is owed to Devante Adams. I believe it's close to $13 million this year. $30 or so million, non-guaranteed overall over the next couple of seasons. If a team, let's say if the Jets go out and say, okay, we're going to give you a second and a third round pick, but you need to eat 50% of his salary. The Raiders need to eat 50% of his salary. Well, that changes what the draft capital looks like. Okay, we're getting a second and third round pick, but we're still paying this guy $10 million. The Raiders may not be open to that kind of conversation. If you have a team like the Kansas City Chiefs who need a receiver because of Rashee Rice now being hurt, let's say they give him a first-round pick and then go to the Raiders and say, we will take on his contract. You will owe him nothing. Well, that's certainly a much different deal.
Do you think they would trade him in division, though? Because I don't see that happening.
But it's more of the hypothetical of if a team goes to them and says, okay, we'll give you a high draft pick and keep the money, or we'll give you a lower pick and keep the money, as opposed to a team saying, no, you're going to have to split some of this cash overall, some of this Devante Adams cash. That's what's going to hold up some of this deal. That's what makes this so complex in the first place.
I just think at the end of the day, because you're going to have to likely redo his contract for any team that takes him on, it's going to scare off some potential bidders. No one wants to acquire Devante Adams and have him not want to be where he ends up. So I think that's advantage Jets in that regard too, Nick, because you know he wants to play with Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't exactly hiding it yesterday. I played the clip yesterday on the show, and I'm pretty sure it got copyright flagged by Fox, which is ridiculous because Fox doesn't own the K Adams show. They just played the same clip I did, but because they have a bigger channel, I got flagged, so I can't play it again this morning. You could tell I'm chapped about that. But my whole thing is when it comes down to like the compensation, the contract, I think Adams' willingness to redo his deal with the team that acquires him, all these things favor the Jets if they're going to be as aggressive as many of us expect them to be.
It does, but it also favors a bunch of other teams too. Adams wants to play with a good quarterback, and there are a lot of other great quarterbacks around the NFL. The Buffalo Bills being one of those teams. Yes, their cap situation is not as good as the Jets, but you can move cap around. General managers can be flexible in that kind of situation. So maybe the Buffalo Bills try to take a flyer on it. Maybe, you talk about other teams, the Baltimore Ravens could be another team that looks and tries to pick up a number one receiver. So the relationship with Rodgers certainly helps the Jets. It 100% does. It's foolish to think that it doesn't. But all that does is jack up the price for New York, because the Raiders are not just going to give Devante Adams to New York. They're not just going to give it to him. They're looking for the best possible deal. And if the Buffalo Bills come out with a second and third, and the Jets are only coming out with a third, but Adams wants to play for New York, they can essentially hold on to Adams and say, he's still under contract. We'll do the exact same thing you're doing with Hassan Reddick. He'll sit down, not play, and we'll just wait. We're not going to be competitive anyway. He's still under contract. That's not our problem.
Yeah, but by the deadline,
conversation.
Okay, but by the deadline, they would have to move him. Otherwise, they're getting nothing for a guy who's not going to be there when they can get at least, let's say, a third and a fifth from the Jets, or a third round pick that maybe could become a second round pick. Or if the Jets just give them their two and they're like, hey, we have 2/3 this year. If we want to get back into the second round, we have the ammunition to do it. That's honestly, if it took a second and I'm doing it now, I probably would do it, because we're talking about getting him, from week 6 on, which is a lot different than getting him from week 10 on. So if it took a second, I actually would do the second rounder now, as opposed to November 5th when the trade deadline is, because that to me is a little different when you're talking about less games. If you do it right now, he's playing against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night on October 14th. That's why I'd be willing to trade the 2, because I still have 2 third-round picks. So if I need to go back into round 2 next draft, I have the ammunition to do so.
The only reason why I would hold off on a second round pick, and I'm not saying that this is not if you can get Adams and it's a certain move that you feel is palatable overall, they eat some of the salary, whatever it is, you run that to the bank. Devante Adams changes your offense. No one's denying that. I do think, though, and I said this on an earlier show today, if the Raiders are in teardown mode, and I mean complete teardown mode, where it's, we are trying to get rid of contracts, we're trying to rebuild, we're going to be in the quarterback market for the NFL draft next season, we're not going to be competing for a playoff spot this year. If that is the case, I don't know if Adams is the guy that I want the Jets targeting for the Raiders. To me, if I'm looking at it from a perspective of a player that I would want from the Raiders if they're in teardown mode, it's Max Crosby. And we don't know specifically if they're going to move him or not. We have no idea if that's the case. But if it comes down to the trade deadline and the Raiders are actually looking to move some of their top talent, their high-pressed talent, Devante Adams is great. He changes the offense. But the one obvious need for a lot of Jet fans is that they need defensive line help. And it was kind of highlighted in the loss to Denver. Not to say that the defense was the problem. They clearly were not. But Will McDonald was double-teamed. Quinnen Williams was double-teamed. And you never really could trust Michael Clemens, Javon Kinlaw. You can't really trust Leaky Fotu as a pass rusher as well. If they are in teardown mode and they are trying to get rid of players, Adams, Crosby, I think the Jets should target Crosby more than Adams.
I just don't think they would trade him though. Like they just signed him. He's in his prime. Like
Adams.
Adams.
That's my point. It's touch and go. But if they are trying to move players, because Adams is unhappy, but if they move him, who's to say that Crosby's going to be happy? Essentially saying, "Yeah, we're in a rebuild."
Yeah, look, I mean, look, if Crosby wants out and they're open to trading him, I get it, but he's a 27-year-old all-pro level pass rusher. I don't think they would trade him. Like, you could probably get 2 first-round picks for Crosby.
I would agree, and that certainly adds different points to the conversation. But it's Adams, it's other edge rushers. If you can get Adams for a second and a third, and be able to.
That to me is an overpay, though, Nick. I don't think Adams is going for that a second and a third.
With the amount of teams available and the amount of teams wanting him, I think that is certainly in the conversation.
But he's still owed $13.5 million right now.
Sure.
The team that would have to acquire him, like if it's a straight rental, that's a lot for a rental. If you're going to extend his contract, I don't know if he's giving the Steelers the hometown discount I think he would give Rodgers and the Jets. So I don't think there's as many suitors as you think there are for Devante, just looking at it.
Dallas Cowboys need another receiver.
They're going to spend money. They didn't want to spend any money all offseason. Jerry's crying poor.
They didn't. But now that they have a team that's a game out of first place, they are trying to go all in, as Jerry tried to foolishly point out. And he's made these kind of trades before. They traded for Amari Cooper in the middle of the season, and it worked out beautifully for them. They won the division after being mediocre at the beginning point. So I look and I think there are plenty of teams that are going to be interested in Adams. I could certainly be wrong, but even with the contract, this is going to be a bidding war with a lot of contending teams, because a lot of contending teams need receiver help right now.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in. We're talking with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria in his weekly spot on the show. Reminder, you can get the Jake Asman Show in podcast form on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Just search the Jake Asman Show and take us on the go if you want to listen that way to the daily YouTube show. More on Devante right now. This was Ian Rappaport, Rap Sheet, on Good Morning Football today with the latest on Devante.
A dramatic day yesterday for the Las Vegas Raiders. Really one that I think has been speculated upon for months and months, but one, just being totally honest, I wasn't sure was ever going to be a reality. Here's my understanding of the situation. Devante Adams informed the Raiders on Monday, the day after they won against the Browns in a dramatic win without him, that he preferred to be traded. Now, this has been, as I mentioned, speculated for a long time, because we know that there have been several teams interested in trading for Devante Adams. That happened last year around the trade deadline, and it looked like the Raiders were going the wrong way. Happened again this offseason. There's been plenty of them. The Jets, I know everyone talks about, connect the dots with Aaron Rodgers. There have been others, though, and at every moment the Raiders have said, no, we are not going to do it. And now potentially the door opens. Devante Adams, sources tell me and colleague Mike Garafolo, informs the Raiders that he would prefer to be traded. And my understanding is the Raiders are at least open to this for the right deal. It would likely be expensive. Obviously, you'd have to rework Devante Adams' contract for the 2025 season, but certainly it is conceivable. Now, there are a couple different options here. He could end up staying with the Raiders. I know that's something several members of the organization would like, but there is also a possibility that one of the best receivers we have seen over the course of the last decade heads elsewhere before the trade deadline. Just a major, major shift.
Obviously, he's getting dealt. It's just a matter of when it happens. Let's talk about some other angles to this story with Adams. Hassan Reddick. I see people floating him out there in trade proposals, and I don't seem to understand the logic in it, because if the Raiders are moving off of Adams because they're going into a rebuild and he's not going to be on their team next year, Why would they acquire a 30-year-old pass rusher who no one has seen, no one knows what type of shape he's in, give him a contract that obviously the Jets and 30 other teams didn't want to give? Why would the Raiders acquire Reddick and then pay him? Unless Reddick is like, I'll go to the Raiders and play on my current deal, like I guess Matthew Judon did. I don't see why the Raiders would be blowing it up at 2-2, by the way, the same record as the Jets, would now want Hassan Reddick when they still do have a defense with Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson on the defensive line.
Reddick's not getting moved to the Raiders. Let's throw that out there right now. I don't think he's getting moved, period. It really just comes down to this. If they were to entice Devante Adams and they can get a deal done, I think what it does do is it sort of push the chips back into Reddick's case and say, okay, buddy, we have a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. We have the roster ready to go. We need an edge rusher. And we can go in and trade for Jadeveon Clowney. We can go big game hunting. Well, we can do whatever we need to do. But we want you here. How can we satisfy you and this current deal to figure out a way where you can play for the remainder of the season and help us win a championship in major, major moments? That's a piece to this that could certainly help them in the long run. This is a really complex issue, and Rappaport kind of said it as much. You hear so many different reporters say it as well. The contract, the draft capital that gets included, Reddick, what happens with him, everything sort of goes together here because the Raiders are essentially going to determine themselves what the market will be for this top receiver. And if they are willing to go low because the offers are not exactly where they want to be, then that is going to be a key part of this conversation. They could want a second-round pick right now. But if the Chiefs give them a fourth and the Jets give them a third and the Cowboys give them a fifth and they're not getting that second, well, are you going to sit here and, force them to play? I think that's certainly on the table, but that's also part of the conversation here that gets a little murky as well.
All right. The other, angle in all this is those saying, well, they don't really need Devante Adams, and I sit here and say, okay, maybe it's not a tip-top need, but the Rams didn't necessarily need OBJ either, and without him, they don't win the Super Bowl, right? They lost Robert Woods almost immediately after they made that deal. One injury changes things. To me, you can never have enough depth, especially when it comes to this player in particular. It's a guy that already knows your offense and has chemistry with your quarterback. So it's not like a typical trade deadline move where maybe it takes them a couple games to get acclimated to a new system, new quarterback, new teammates. Devante and Aaron have that chemistry. It's not going to take long, which to me even drives, back the point. The Jets need to do this. I don't think Joe Douglas should worry about draft picks down the line. He's got to win this year. This team is 2-2 right now. They had a brutal loss last Sunday against the Denver Broncos. This is the move you make to spark your team. And I think for those saying, well, what about Garrett Wilson? Garrett Wilson will thrive not having to be the focal point of every defense now. Him and Devante would be like what Hill and Waddle are down in Miami. You can never have enough good players. When Brady got to Tampa, he already had Godwin, and he already had a future Hall of Fame receiver in Mike Evans. He brought Gronk with him, and then they added Antonio Brown. You could never have enough great weapons for a Hall of Fame quarterback. So that's my take on those saying, do they really need Devante? What are your thoughts on that and how it impacts the offense?
I kind of said it before, but they need an edge rusher more. I truly, truly believe they need an edge rusher more. That does not mean Adams doesn't completely fundamentally change this offense.
And they also probably can't get that edge rusher, but here's an elite wide receiver that's available that's best friends with your Hall of Fame quarterback.
When I put up Crosby, I look at specifically because if the Raiders are moving him to kickstart a rebuild, if they are not, and they're just getting rid of Adams, Crosby is obviously not going to be available. But in the microcosm of this particular trade, Devante Adams and Aaron Rodgers are the modern-day equivalent of Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, the quarterback-receiver duo that has just done such good work over the years. The other side to this coin is in the modern NFL, you do not get by with just one great receiver. Look across the NFL, and what you see is with these top contenders, there are multiple top receivers. The San Francisco 49ers have Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Philadelphia has A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The Dolphins in their duo. You have the Detroit Lions. You have Sam Laporta as a tight end and Amon-Ra St. Brown as the receiver. Those are your top two, but now Jamison Williams is coming onto the scene. Every top team has a 1 and a 1A or 1B receiver in this instance. The Jets, as of right now, do not have that. And that is why Garrett Wilson has dealt with some very difficult matchups. You know, people look and say, well, maybe we've been overrating Garrett Wilson for what he's been able to do with Zach Wilson at quarterback. But how many receivers do you know that are going to be able to thrive when taking on Patrick Surtain and Christian Gonzalez and L'Jarius Sneed and Ward from San Francisco? Not many receivers are able to be dominant. Calvin Johnson had some miserable games against Darrelle Revis back in the day when Revis was with the Jets. That's kind of the same situation here. It's not that the receiver's bad. It's that the other players are really good too. So you want to put your best offensive players in a position to succeed. Wilson being in the slot is going to be a matchup nightmare for some of these defenses going forward, for the Bills, for the Dolphins, for every defense upcoming. You get Adams on this team, it fundamentally changes what you expect out of Garrett Wilson because it allows him to be in a situation that can get him to thrive. Not just play well, but thrive.
If you're one of the 575 people watching live, first off, thank you. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Reminder to all the Jet fans going to London, join the Discord group for information about tailgates, London tours, Jet fan bar crawls, and of course, our big event Saturday night. If you want all that info, patreon.com/Jake Asman Show and get in the Discord. Can't thank you all enough for your support. We're going to get back into our conversation with Nick in just a second. We'll take some calls as well and get to your super chats. But ladies and gentlemen, today's Jake Asman Show is in fact being presented by my friends at The Perfect Gene. You heard me talk about The Perfect Gene yesterday. I mean, these jeans are quite simply the best. They just sent me a new pair that I'm ready to rock, getting set for London. They are comfortable, they feel nice, and fellas, they won't scrunch your you-know-what, all right? So here's what I want you to know about The Perfect Gene. Use promo code ASMAN15, and you'll save 15% off. Go to their website right now. It's theperfectgene.nyc15. Once again, The Perfect Gene is the jeans for you. They got a bunch of great options, bunch of different colors, sizes, you name it, they have it. Once again, they won't scrunch your male region. That's what it actually says in the script. I'm not even kidding you. That's what it actually says. The Perfect Gene's awesome. I've been rocking their jeans now for a long time. If you've been watching the show, they've been a great sponsor, great supporter. So check them out. Once again, all the info's in the description. It's theperfectgene.nyc/Asman15. Check it out and get yourself some nice jeans like what I have here as I get set to fly to London later today. All right, Nick is back with us right now, so let's bring him on. And Nick, are you ready for some super chats from some fired up Jet fans who think the season's over at 2-2?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
First comment I see here is, does it really make a difference with this coaching staff? Obviously, we're all down on the coaching staff. I've been a Saleh, I don't want to say defender, but I wanted to be patient with him and say, hey, let's see what it looks like with a real quarterback. That loss on Sunday was inexcusable. It is something that quite simply cannot happen. I put it all on the head coach. It starts with him. What are your thoughts on the state of the Jets following that game Sunday against Denver going into this game against the Vikings?
If you were a Robert Saleh detractor going into this season, week 4 was blood in the water. The team came out undisciplined. There didn't really seem to be a plan offensively. The offensive line was just completely bombarded, and Rodgers did not play well. Objectively, we can look at that game and say, well, you know what? Quarterback didn't help the situation either. There was one particular play that I continue to harp on because it would have been a touchdown, but it was a rollout play. It was essentially an RPO read where you have Garrett Wilson coming out of the flat and you have Tyler Conklin running a corner. This is a basic concept that a lot of NFL teams run nowadays, and Conklin is running wide open down the field. But Rodgers doesn't even look that way, throws it to the side with Garrett Wilson. It's a 1-yard catch. Those are the types of plays that I looked at and I said, hey, Rodgers, not good today. He was not good at all. Now, that does not excuse the coaching staff because since 2021, the Jets have been saying we got to figure out the penalty problem, and it still hasn't been figured out, whether it's pre-snap motions, whether it's very dumb penalties. And when I look at dumb, I mean, look at the Allen Lazard catch and run, and then he gets called for unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. You have Irv Charles on a punt return, hitting the punt returner who doesn't even have the football. The ball wasn't even close.
He should have been thrown out of the game for that, by the way.
I agree. I thought he was lucky that he was not, removed from that contest. It's just these dumb penalties that you look and say, what are we doing here? And that falls on the coaching staff. So week 4, I'll say this. I thought the Jets' plan against the Patriots was perfect. From a coaching perspective, they looked great in that game against New England because they looked prepared. They looked, on a short week, they looked prepared and ready to roll, and boy, did they. But then they had extra rest, and they looked flat. They looked unprepared. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how to adjust. So I agree. This coaching staff has a lot to answer for from week 4. Do I think that the season is over and that this is a reflection that the Jets cannot win with Robert Saleh as the head coach? No, because every team has a dud like this. I mean, every team. The Chiefs are 4-0 right now, and a lot of people in Kansas City are like, well, wait a minute. We look like crap. Great, we're winning games, but we look like crap. What's going to happen later on when a lot of these close games sort of turn and that luck and turns overall? Every team has a dud throughout the regular season, and the Jets have to earn the benefit of the doubt because they haven't been to the playoffs the last 4 seasons. No one's saying otherwise.
Last 4 seasons. I mean,
under Robert Saleh. Well, I'm talking about under Robert Saleh specifically.
I know what you mean. Here's my thing, though, right? It's not that they lost. It's how it looked. It looked exactly like 2023. Pick the game. Patriots at home. The Giant game, only Zerline hit the kick this time. Or last year. That was the only difference. They stole that one a year ago. They should have lost. The Falcon game. Like, I wanted to be patient with Saleh because I'm like, well, look at the quarterback situation. I'm sorry.
And rightfully so.
Like, Aaron Rodgers was not great for his standards. He still made enough plays, and the Jets just shot themselves in the foot. They should have won this game going away. Like, it's just that's coaching, man. Saleh will not survive another game like that. I'm telling you. Like, it's that bad. If they get destroyed by the Vikings, Saleh watch is officially on.
I don't think they're going to lose to the Vikings. I've said this before. I think they're going to beat Minnesota. I have seen this run with Minnesota before. They start off a season great. It's fast. They look awesome. And then they hit a wall. And I think London probably is the perfect place for that wall specifically. But listen, Saleh's got to fix a lot of stuff. And he's got to finally figure out what he wants to be as a head coach. Because there are some people who I think are wrong in their assessment that Robert Saleh needs to yell at players on the sideline or needs to hold them out to dry in press conferences. You do not want to be like Doug Peterson, where you're airing dirty laundry to reporters because players aren't performing well enough. You do not want to be Doug Peterson in that regard. But penalties. We say this over and over and over again, and the same calls are being made. Illegal shifts, illegal formations, false starts, playing after the whistle. It just is inexcusable overall.
Some breaking news here, Nick. Are you ready for this one?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, some breaking news on the Jake Asman Show.
Breaking sports news on the Jake Asman Show.
I think Peter Castro is very hurt financially. He went from a $500 super chat a few months ago about Allen Lazard to 99 cents. Peter, what's happened to you, man? Have you fallen on hard times? His question or comment was, roster great, staff stinks. But honestly, this team is too talented to lose 10-9 to a quarterback making his 4th career start who had negative passing yards at halftime. I get it. The conditions sucked. But, have the Jets never played in the rain before? I see the super chat here from my guy, Matt, one of my really good friends. This clown, Matt Siegel, everybody, the architect behind L5, has the audacity at 8:49 a.m. to text me, cannot believe on 3rd and goal, Hackett called a play action to Solomon Thomas. I go, too early to text me this. I can't do it. Why are you starting my day with a text about a play action design play to Solomon Thomas? What are we doing? Hackett, come on, man.
I didn't like the answer they gave about not putting Braylon Allen in the red zone either. That should be his domain.
Goal line, short yardage.
From the 1, give him the football, and he's going to score a touchdown. That is the goal of a power back. If you have, I look at the 2005 Steelers. The Steelers had Willie Parker in 2005, who had a 1,000-yard season, looked really good, and they had Jerome Bettis. When they got to the 1-yard line, they were not going to put in Willie Parker to score in the final score. They were putting in the 300-pound running back, and they were going to say, hey, get us in the end zone. And Jerome Bettis would get him in the end zone. There's just no reason why Breece Hall should be the guy in that situation. And listen, I think the concern over Breece Hall is a little overdone. I think he and Garrett Wilson will be fine. They are learning their place in this offense specifically, like a lot of players are. But you got to know your personnel. And the Jets not knowing their personnel, it can't fly when it's 1st and goal at the 1. If you're not going to run a quarterback sneak, you give it to the power back. It's that simple.
And you could argue that wasn't even the most egregious use of personnel, because on 3rd and 10 on that last drive, when Rodgers is trying to throw the ball to Xavier Gibson, he's thinking it's going to be a back shoulder throw, and Gibson's just running a fly route down the field. That ball should not go to Xavier Gibson. Mike Williams wasn't even on the field for that play. You know, the guy who's made every contested catch in that exact scenario.
To come out there. I think he asked to come. Again, I have to look at specifically, but I agree. Why is Xavier Gibson being targeted in that situation? It should be Garrett or Lazard or Conklin, or I think Malachi Corley. Listen, Robert Saleh can sit here and say all he wants about Malachi Corley needs time to develop, and I'm not arguing against that thought. But 1 play, 2 play, a target, a jet sweep, get him involved somewhere to do something and see just what he can bring to the table as a Deebo Samuel player. Listen, Deebo came out exceptionally raw as a rookie, very, very raw as a route runner, and the 49ers found ways to get him the football. There is no excuse to sit him on the sideline and say, we need him to develop his route running, because when's he going to learn from it? Practice? He's not getting game reps.
I mean, they couldn't wait to tell everyone, we had him as our 4th best receiver on our draft board.
It doesn't match. They were so excited to get this guy. We know they were trying to trade up for him in the 2nd round. If that was the case, get him on the field.
All right, some memberships here. We certainly could use the good vibes. Bobby Midnight has gifted 1 channel membership. Thank you, Bobby. Listener Jay Graves, the feisty Jet fan, the recipient of the membership. Dalt has gifted a channel membership. Let's make it rain, man. All right, let's get the positive vibes. Channel membership gifted, and chat exploded. Don't know who got it, but if you got it from Dalt, make sure you thank Dalt for paying it forward. Super chat from Donnie: slap Devante with an egg sandwich, and he will come. Hey, you know, if he wants to meet me. If he wants to meet me at the airport tonight, I'll give him a little breakfast sandwich on my way out of the country. Tony DeFlippo writes in, Jake, we face off in fantasy this week. Side bet for Asmaniac merch. If I win, you send me merch of my choosing. If you win, pick any Asmaniac and I'll send them merch of their choice. Thoughts? No, if I win, I want you to buy me my own Asmaniac gear, because I don't even get my stuff for free. How crazy is that, by the way? What a ridiculous concept that is. But Tony, I'm looking forward to hopefully beating you in fantasy, and we can make that side bet. That works. All right. Corey says, you're right, Jake. Crosby's not what they need. Now, look, Max Crosby would help any team. I just think Devante is more obtainable. Is edge rusher a bigger need than receiver? Yes, but you're not going to find a player as good as Devante that's available that has this relationship with Rodgers. That's why you go all in and you do it. Like you make Garrett Wilson the best number 2 wide receiver in the NFL, probably. You know, that's special.
It's why this Adams situation is a very touch and go place, because if this is just a one-off thing where the Raiders are just getting rid of Devante to get rid of him, that's one thing. But if this is a fire sale that's upcoming, and again, they're only 2-2, but maybe they've seen what all they need to about this team. They know they're not going to compete fully the rest of the year, so they'd rather just reset this and try to get a high draft pick. That's where that conversation has to be brought in.
Bang Mateo, I'm good with Adams, but adding more deodorant to mask the stench Saleh smears on this team is not the answer. Adams won't help Saleh's shortcomings. Look, you might ultimately be right, Bang, but he will help. All right. Now, is he going to help where the Jets are winning the Super Bowl? I don't know, but there's something still to be said for making the playoffs and ending this goddamn playoff drought, even if they can't win a championship. Like if the season were to end today, Bang, as bad as that loss was on Sunday, the Jets would be the 5 seed in the AFC playoffs right now. So I'm not throwing away the year. I'm still all in to win this year. Like you sold your soul when you made the move for Aaron Rodgers because you screwed up the Zach Wilson pick. This is where we're at. They should be all in. The GM's in year 6. The head coach is in year 4. If not now, then when? Go for it. I don't want to hear it.
Listen, I agree. You're not getting rid of these guys just because they had a loss. Listen, talent can mask coaching. And I think a lot of people here in this chat, a lot of people watching think poorly of Nick Sirianni. But the Eagles have been to the playoffs every single year. Now, is that the talent or is that the coaching staff that's been able to just find ways to win even with the top talent? If Sirianni can get to the Super Bowl with that talent and everyone thinks so poorly of him, maybe that can happen with Robert Saleh. That's kind of my point.
I just think at the end of the day, like, if you can get Devante Adams and it's not going to cost you a first-round pick, like, if it costs you a second and you still have 2/3 anyway, do it. Do it, man. Slip Kid with a super chat. Hey, it's going to rain on Sunday. It's about accountability for this team. They do not look like a Super Bowl team right now. Will they wake up? Just might. I mean, look, good teams, it could go one of two ways, right? This is like a turning point for the year, or that's the game that we look at and it's like, well, that's where, the tailspin started. We'll find out. I mean, the difference is you have Aaron Rodgers, who I do think will hold guys accountable, and it will be better this week. But the Vikings are a good team. But to your point, Nick, as well as they play, they're not going 17-0. They're just as capable of having a brutal loss like every other team in the league besides Kansas City has had this year. I mean, the Ravens were 0-2. They lost to the Raiders. The Raiders got destroyed by the Panthers. Like the Broncos team that destroyed the Bucks then just beat up your Eagles. So it is a week-to-week league, especially early. It's on the Jets in a neutral site game to just get a win, and you go from there.
I hate these kind of comments. They do not look like a Super Bowl team right now. Okay. Name the teams that look like a Super Bowl team right now. Name them. The Chiefs? Detroit? That's it. Buffalo just got their asses kicked against Baltimore, but Baltimore looks terrible in every other game. You got the Cowboys just unable to stop a cold. Philadelphia's defense is crap. San Francisco is completely out of whack. I know they beat the Patriots, but they did not look dominant while facing the Patriots for most of that game. That was highly competitive until they realized, oh, wait, we're the 49ers and then the Patriots. Let's kick their ass. There is no team right now that looks like a dominant force that's going to win it. And I'll even include the Minnesota Vikings in this conversation. Minnesota's undefeated, but do we really think they're going to be a Super Bowl team with Sam Darnold at quarterback? Sorry, I do not. So there is no team looking like a Super Bowl contender right now because, as I have said before, if you actually ask people inside organizations and across the National Football League, the first month of the season no longer matters. As long as you stay afloat, as long as you are not 0-4, you will be fine. There's easier ways to just get by and move on forward. This is bona fide preseason in the mindset of a lot of organizations now. It's why they don't play their starters in the preseason. That is exactly why. No team looks like a Super Bowl contender right now. To think that the Jets need to is just foolish to the nth degree.
Super chats keep coming in. We're seeking more channel members. Peter Castro, he's opened up his wallet from 99 cents, Nick, to $4.99. Thank you, Peter. Can't overcome, not even Rodgers, his coaching staff. And he's so mad he wrote it again. Can't overcome, not even Rodgers, this coaching staff. Yeah, well, Rodgers, I think, can overcome some of the issues we have with the coaching staff. Like we're, 13 days removed from one of the best Jet performances we've seen. And they did it in prime time on a short week against the Patriots.
And the coaching staff looked good.
Right. But when the conditions were what they were and Rodgers was a little off, then you can't overcome it. Like the whole thought process was you're going to get high-level Rodgers and then the talent's so good. You could, nullify some of your concerns with the coaching staff. But at Denver loss, Rodgers wasn't great. The O-line, after playing really well in pass protection the first 3 games, reverted back to last year's O-line. And it was a mess. You hope it's just an outlier game like week 1 was seemingly for the defense, and they figure it out. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not concerned. I am. We should be past those games where you lose 10-9 to Bo Nix. Like, that can't happen, man. But, at the end of the day, they're 2-2, not 0-4, as you said, and it's a week-to-week league. Beat the Vikings, and, this chat's going to be talking about winning the Super Bowl if they win on Sunday. I've done this too long and too many times. I know exactly how this fan base is.
Listen, I will say this. Give me what Jet fans are saying over what Eagle fans are saying right now. I'm at my wit's end with half that fan base because it is just – you want to talk about stupidity. and the complaints that some people have. Jet fans have legitimate complaints about their coaching staff. Eagle fans are looking and saying, well, it's Nick Sirianni, but Jalen Hurts is the problem. But it's not just Jalen Hurts, it's Vic Fangio. It's not just Vic Fangio, it's Bryce Huff. It's this, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. You forget that these teams are 2-2. They're not 0-4. They're not 1-3. Are there concerns? Are there some outliers that need to be figured out? Of course. But to sit here and say that the sky is falling after 4 weeks is just preposterous.
The sky is not falling, according to Nick Faria of the New York Jets beat. All right. Super chat from JK. We find more reasons why players can't get on the field than Ken. No way you draft a guy like that and don't even have an idea of a play to run with him. You know what's crazy about the Corley stuff, too? I mean, you were at every training camp practice, but I went to 5 of them. He was getting reps with the ones in each of them. They were using him. So the fact that he has no role at all is astonishing to me.
So they kind of did this a little bit with Garrett Wilson a couple of years ago when he was a rookie.
Yeah, then his first NFL catch, he juked out 3 Ravens, and it's like, get this guy on the field. What are we doing?
They do not want to put a player on the field until they feel he's ready. And they would rather nurture them and go slow with them for every particular player. Now, I have been on the record in saying that is the way to do things with quarterbacks, with many high picks. Give them the opportunity to sit and watch the game overall. I have been pounding the table that there needs to be patience with rookies and how they are developed. To that extent, I have no problem with Corley sitting a week or two. But it's now week 4. And you need some juice on the offense. You brought him in because he was the yak king. And you're not even giving him an opportunity to show that. That's the problem I have. And even just putting him on the field for a gadget play here and there just makes the most sense. I just think they should be commended for being patient with some of these younger players, but there are sometimes of being overly cautious. There's such a thing as being overly cautious, and they currently are right now.
I have a standing offer. If you're the Asmaniac who gifts Rich his channel membership, we're sending you an item from the Jake Asman merch store. We got over 700 people watching. Make sure if you're watching, you subscribe to the Jake Asman YouTube channel by hitting that red subscribe button on the right. Helps us continue to grow. We talk Jets each and every day, typically twice a day. We'll be live again later today with Jeff Parles in his weekly spot at 3 p.m. Eastern time. My final show stateside before I hit the trek to the airport to fly out tonight to go to London. Bang Mateo says Sirianni made the Super Bowl with his DC and OC that he lost.
Okay, what did he do? He wasn't play caller. Again, this is my point. Everyone talks about Robert Saleh not calling plays on defense and not calling plays on offense. When you have those guys that make in-game decisions and in-game mistakes, the coordinators matter, and all of that makes sense. But it's also about the talent. If the talent's not producing, you're not going to win. The talent on Sunday did not produce. Some of that has to do with coaching, the undisciplined nature of this organization. Some of it had to do with Aaron Rodgers not being on the same page with his receivers, the offensive line struggling to handle the blitz. There were a lot of different problems in that loss, and Saleh is obviously one of them.
Yeah, and also, I'm killing the coach all week. I have been, the coaching staff, all of it. It's also on the players, too. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall in their 3rd year. Like, they should be past having games like that. Like, especially Breece, man. Breece playing the worst game of his professional career is shocking to me. Because last year, he was arguably the 2nd best running back in the NFL with nothing to work with between O-line, quarterback, play caller, game script. And it's just shocking how poorly he has played so far.
These games and these stretches happen. They happen to every team. Listen, when LaShawn McCoy was in Philadelphia, he won the rushing title in 2013, had a great year. The following year, it took him a full month and a half to get going again. And he still ended up with over 1,000 yards. He was still very, very good. There are stretches. And again, this Jets offense is new in a lot of different ways. It may not be new to Aaron Rodgers, but it is new to guys like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, where they have to be in a specific spot, and the blame is on them if they are not in that spot and not the quarterback as opposed to years past. So This is an adjustment for everyone. They weren't going to come in this season and average 30 points a game every single game. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes a little bit of time, some bumps on the road to get to where you need to be. The fact they have that loss, again, awful loss, inexcusable loss. But maybe that's a loss that puts a stepping stone to something further for the team that shows them they cannot just walk in and expect to win games based on talent alone.
Jet Life did it the old-fashioned way, became an Asmaniac. Let's go. Captain Swanson's a troll, but he paid money, so I'll read it. I'm a capitalist. How are we supposed to beat Minnesota with that firepower? Nick, how did the Jets beat the Vikings?
All right, very simple. Ready? Very simple. The Vikings receiving core, really, really good, right? Well, what's the strength of the Jets defense? Oh, wait, it's their secondary. Wash. Get that out of the way. Then it's about protecting Aaron Rodgers. Can you figure out a way to stop this blitz? Now, they were anemic on Sunday against the Denver Blitz. Denver blitzes more than any other team in the NFL. The Vikings are the second most blitz team in the NFL. They're going to have to figure out a solution. But
how about a screen pass?
If you can, screen passes, draws, running the football downfield, all of those things come in, and you should be able to be successful. The Vikings have played really well to this point. That doesn't mean they're just going to walk in and be some unbeatable roster. They're 4-0, and Sam Darnold's a quarterback. I'm sorry. I still don't believe in Sam Darnold. I get it. He's playing really good football. I don't think he's going to be the MVP for the rest of this season. There's going to be a come-to-earth moment. There's going to be a come-to-Jesus moment. It was that way in Carolina when he was 3-0, and it just blew up in his face. I think something like this could certainly happen here.
Hit that like button as Rich is asking for it. We're still seeking memberships for Rich. Golden Shoe gifted a membership. Golden Shoe's gift went to Easy Chillin'. Easy Chillin'. Make sure you thank Golden Shoe. John writes in, Tay's wish list is Jets and New Orleans. This has to get done. Well, New Orleans, because of the car factor, for sure, would be something he'd be interested in. But I think his preference is the Jets. And I think Adams can also expedite this process, too, by saying he only wants to play for the Jets and make it difficult for teams. He won't redo his deal for any team besides the Jets. That's why I think the Jets have way more leverage than a lot of people even realize here.
It all depends. It really does. Because if the Bills were to come into and again, I throw the Bills out as a hypothetical, but if the Bills come out and say, hey, we want him now, we're going to give you a second-round pick, is Devante Adams really going to say no to playing with Josh Allen? Patrick Mahomes, if the Chiefs give up a couple first-round picks, amp up the price a little bit, Dak Prescott. There are quarterbacks here, some really good quarterbacks that need receiver help. And if the teams are willing to do that, that's what makes this conversation a little bit more complex.
Tyrone in the house with a $10 super chat. I should mention this. All super chats go to the Jake Asman I'm drinking lots of beer over the next couple of days fund when I go across the pond, and to the Tea and Crumpets fund as well, Nick, just so you know. I'm not concerned about Saleh. The defense is his, and they're great. The offense has Rodgers, and he will control Hackett. Sign Adams and Cave. Sign Hassan. Let's stop the bull. Go Jets. At this point, I will stick with the take I've had for 2 weeks now. I believe it is more likely Devante Adams plays for the Jets than it is ever Hassan Reddick.
I would agree with that. At least now I would agree with that. 100%.
Jet Life. We get in Devante. Book it. All right, let me ask you
observation.
This. If you had to predict where he does end up, do you think it's the Jets?
I still think it's the Jets. I think there are factors in play that could complicate things, but I think he becomes a Jet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Best has gifted a channel membership, and it went to Jay Chucky. So the memberships are starting to flow, but it hasn't flown to Rich just yet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to some of your calls before we say goodbye to Nick. First up on our Gustbuster hotline is Indomitable. Hello, Indomitable.
Jake, Nick, how you doing?
How you doing?
Thanks for all you do, man. We appreciate it.
Problem.
Per the CBA agreement, I've been seeing it a lot on Twitter. A player cannot be traded to another team until he has played at least 4 games with his new team. So the Reddick trade nonsense has to stop. He can't be traded. So that's got to be resolved on another way. Saleh. Oh, man. When I say the name, Saleh, we've been talking about the guy for 3 years. Like I said on Monday, when you pair talent with inept coaching is like having a Ferrari parked on your driveway without an engine. We have the pieces. Yes, good players can mask bad coaching. For instance, Bill Belichick without Tom Brady is pedestrian. More recently, Zach Taylor with the Bengals before Burrow got there, I think his record was like 6-26. So yes, our players need to start performing their jobs because it's gonna keep exposing the ineptitude of our coaching staff. And in regards to Adams, it just makes too much sense. He was with Rodgers the last 2 MVP seasons. He knows hack, and let's just go get him, man. Once we get Adams, this offense is gonna have another dimension. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And Donald, just so you know, though, that what you said is not true. He can't be traded back to the Eagles. He could be traded to any team, just so you know.
Damn.
He can?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He can't be traded back to Philly. But, you know, that's
Which, by the way, Nick, that means either Howie Roseman, Joe Douglas, or both 1,000% had the conversation.
Howie absolutely called. They got the conversation going, and someone in the NFL knew about it and said, not flying.
Tom Ace compares the Jets roster, but Robert Saleh as the head coach, as to having Margot Robbie with a chastity belt. Nick, your thoughts?
I love my wife. Gonna leave it at that. I love my wife.
I mean, it's Margot Robbie, though, man. Come on, she'll get it.
I love my wife.
She'll understand.
I'm here so I won't get fined.
Mr. Reality says, we overrate Garrett Wilson. He's not what we said. Joe B agreed. A couple things here. I love Beningo, but Joe is Joe. 1 week he's this, 1 week he's that. That's what makes Joe Joe. So just because Joe was angry on Monday and called Garrett Wilson overrated does not mean that Mr. Reality, that means that Joe is 1,000% the arbiter of like all things being right. He also said that he would hire Rex and Mike Tannenbaum back. So like Joe was just angry, and that's why I love having him on Mondays, because you get the highs and the lows after every game. So I want to make that clear as far as our guy Joe B. As far as Garrett goes, look, he hasn't played to his standard yet, but I'm also not going to throw him away after 4 games. This is a guy who went over 1,000 yards with the worst collection of quarterbacks the Jets have ever put together. And no Jet receiver has ever had back-to-back 1,000 yards to start their career. Garrett Wilson is a great football player. He hasn't played like it yet, but I'm not giving up on him 4 games in. It's going to take a little time, longer than we thought, but maybe this is the breakout week when he's not facing arguably the second best corner in the NFL on Sunday.
He's 24. He's 24. We don't have to be overrating and underrating players who aren't even 25 yet. I'm sorry.
Go look at Devante Adams' breakout year. Didn't come to his 3rd or 4th season in the league, by the way.
Like, it takes time. Let them develop people. Jeez.
Anyway, back to Margot Robbie. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Super chats. They're coming in here. Golden Shoe, though, has gifted another channel membership. Gavin McNall. See, everyone's gifting one membership at a time. If we get a 5 spot, I wonder if Rich would get it then in the flow. I guess we'll find out. Let's keep going here. JJ with a super chat. Nick is hanging out with us for a couple more minutes, so last chance to get your comment read. Someone at a coffee shop stole my Gustbuster umbrella. Devastating. Oof. JJ. Oof. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Sorry to hear that. You know, if you email the customer service line, maybe they'll hook you up. I'll put in a good word for you. I know the people involved. We'll make it happen for you, JJ. Reach out. Let's see. Let's do another call right now. Let's say hello to Ricky NY. He's next. Hey, Ricky.
Hey, what's happening, Jake? How you doing today?
What's up, Ricky?
How you doing, Ricky?
Not a whole lot. I was going to tell you, Nick, when I was talking to Boy Green earlier this morning, somebody gave me tickets to that Eagles game last week, and I didn't go. If you were in the area, I would have gave them to you.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was at the Jets game.
At any rate,
glad I wasn't there.
Right. I think what that first caller was trying to say is I read the thing on Roto World the other day. It says that a team can't trade a player and then reacquire that same player via trade until
Correct.
2 years have passed. I think that's what the guy was trying to say. I mean, I don't think it was anything specific as far as the Jets and Eagles. It's just Apparently, that's the rule. So,
well, that's the rule, but
like
the Jets
all
and
that
Eagles
trading
talked about
Reddick-
a trade, Ricky. That was the point. He got what he was trying to say is what you
Right,
articulated
right.
there, but it's not relevant because the Jets could trade Reddick to anyone that's not the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, like Devante coming to the Jets makes too much sense. Supposedly, I guess he gave him a list of destinations where he'd like to go, and we're among that list. I'm sure New Orleans is another one. I'm curious who the third one was. They didn't specify, but I think there's just too much mutual interest. It just makes too much sense, and I think that definitely, absolutely gets done. And that we need to do something. And I don't know, man. I know I agree with what Nick's saying. It takes time, and the have patience and it takes time thing kind of goes against the we got to win now. It's an all-in mentality. So I don't know. All I know is the pre-snap pays.
The Ricky NY Wi-Fi struck again at the end there, Nick. But yeah, I mean, look, the team could use that spark. There's no doubt Devante Adams is that spark.
And again, the other thing is this. Yes, you have to be patient, but you can be patient and be in an all-win season.
Correct.
The Chiefs aren't playing their best football. Other teams, the 49ers are playing their best football, but they're treading water at the very least. And that's what the Jets are doing. The Jets are treading water. They're not terrible. They're not great. As long as you tread water and get to that point where you are starting to feel yourself and you start to get your identity down, that's when you start seeing some big quality wins going forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is Nick Faria. Nick, where can people find you?
Same thing as always, Nick_Faria1720. That is the Twitter handle. Make sure you guys give me a follow. Got a bunch of stories coming out later today. So lots of exciting time.
Nick, keep up the great work. Appreciate you hopping on a day early. And I will tell you right now, have your Devante Adams to the Jets story already written, because at 9 p.m. tonight, when my flight takes off to London, that is when this deal will happen.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Nick Faria, check it in on the Jets beat. He joins us every week on the show. Hit that like button if you're just tuning in. There's still 700 of you watching live right now. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Once again, I can't say it enough. Thanks to the audience for making September the most viewed month in the now 4-season history of the Jake Asman Show. Join the Patreon if you want bonus content. Most importantly, Discord access. Huge shout out to listener Adam Goldstein, who joined the Patreon in the middle of this show right now. Adam, make sure you get in that Discord. If you're headed to London, we'll have information about all the great events for Jet fans to be a part of across the pond. First Day Jets with a super chat here. All the teams have duds and clunkers. That's why 0-17 is very unlikely. It almost never happens. And 15-2 and 16-1 are extremely rare. Move on, be better. For sure. But there's losses, and then there's how they lost to Denver. That's why we're all enraged this week. They lost 10-9 to a quarterback who had negative yards passing at halftime. That's why. It's a little different. Your point is correct. Every team has bad losses, but this is alarming, and it can't happen again. Otherwise, the head coach they have won't be back next year. He won't. He won't survive it. C with a super chat. Wild to see how people quit on G5 and Brees. Won't be me. I think people are completely irrational with some of the takes on Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall. Completely irrational. They need to play better. I expect them both to play better, especially Garrett, man. Garrett's too good of a dude. I'm telling you. Not so sane. The first person to make it rain with how about a 5-spot of channel memberships. Let's go.
Show me the money. Show me the money!
Money.
And the following 5 listeners are Asmaniacs: Eric Bonilla, Janelle M., Mr. Coliseum, Hotel Vice, and Luis Arizia. If you want a channel membership gifted, here's what you need to do. 1, like this video you're watching. 2, subscribe to my channel. And 3, click on Not So Sane's name in the live chat and click the button that says turn on gift membership receipts so you could receive one. No Siegel says, relax, Jet fans. It's a long season ahead. Look, the most Jet-like thing is that they win the next 2, maybe even the next 3, and then they lose to the Patriots in New England. Like, they're 2-2. It's concerning that they lost that game Sunday. But probably by the end of today, certainly tomorrow, this fan base will be convinced they're winning in London. Indomitable with a super chat. Acquiring Devante will help Garrett Wilson develop and grow. Completely agree. Completely agree with that. You want as many playmakers as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Kent, who's already across the pond, he says Jet fans are notorious overreactors. That we are. That we are. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to more calls right now on your Gusbuster Umbrella hotline. Let's say hello to Kyle Clifton. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, Jake? How are you?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
So last year we had the schedule gauntlet to begin the season. It was tough. This year, Garrett Wilson has had the CB gauntlet, right? Christian Gonzalez, Javarius Ward, Snead, Sertan. I'm not worried about it. He's going to be fine. I thought that Nick was particularly on point today. I don't always agree with all of his informed takes. He's a good reporter. But I thought that I think that the offense has been irresponsible in at least not putting a package together for Corley to give some of these defenses a different look and to get him out there and have him running it over people in some gadget plays. Get him a package, have him run those packages with the one throughout the camp and through the first few weeks, and then spring it on the Vikings this week. All the while, he's learning the playbook and he's ready to go full bore for next year. That's how he always should have been approached as a developmental player. Lastly, the player who has not reported. Obviously, you guys talked about how he's not going to be included in the packages. I think that's exactly right. But the way that he impacts this trade is that he could report at any time, and it makes it very difficult for us to understand how we're going to fit Devante Adams or whomever we want to bring in here under the cap. If we get 2 or 3 days down the road and we're on the verge of bringing Devante Adams in for a couple of picks, and this guy decides to stroll into the building, it's going to throw a monkey wrench into the works. It's a little frustrating. I wanted to get your thoughts about that.
Yeah,
Thanks for your time.
Well, good point, Kyle. But I think if the Jets added Adams, they would redo his deal where the money would be pushed to next year when they have more cap space. They would structure it to accommodate for that exact thought that they had to prorate whatever Reddick's cap it would be when he shows up. So his cap hit's $14 million, but it's not $14 million anymore because he's missed the first 4 weeks and soon to be 5 weeks of the season. What an idiot Hassan Reddick is, by the way. Can't say that enough. Guy's a moron. Also, Mr. Reality, get lost, dude. You're just saying some ridiculous things in the chat that we don't stand for on this channel. You're gone. Get out of here. Goodbye, clown. All right, more of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it rolling here. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Once again, we'll be back with Parles at 3 today. Final show stateside. For those curious about the content schedule when I'm in London, I'm going to try and do at least one show a day. It's just difficult with the hours, man. Because, I actually want to enjoy London a little bit when I'm out there before the potential pain of a Jet loss on Sunday, even though I actually do think the Jets are going to win. But we will try and do at least one show each day. So check the Discord for when we're going live. I might do a morning show, like for you guys. For me, it's not like for me at 11 a.m. Like 11 a.m. for you guys is, or for me, it's 6 a.m. Eastern time. So maybe people won't watch as much live, but we will be live. Callum says, see you in London, Jake. Can't wait. Us UK Jets will take over. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to be a blast. I know it's going to be fun. But I'm sure a lot of you will be watching the show on tape delay, is my point. At least one of them. Grinch Mom says, yo, Jake, you going to make it to Arizona? No, I can't make that game, unfortunately. I wanted to do the meetup game for that this year, but I have a bachelor party that weekend. We might have a watch party for that game, though. I will finalize that when I know. That would hopefully be at T Squared Social, but I got to finalize that. Our next 2 watch parties, I've been asked this a couple times. Steelers game on Sunday night, Patriots game 1 o'clock on October 27th. So those are the next 2 confirmed T Squared Social watch parties in New York City. So put that in your calendar, Jet fans. When I get back from London, I'll start sharing the RSVP link for that. John says, let's take a second and enjoy what Miami's going through. Look, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it as much as we should be enjoying it this week. They should be if the Jets were 3-1 right now, despite how ugly that win would have been, it still would have been a win. And Miami is cooked. I mean, all of a sudden, they all want they all want Mike McDaniel fired. Hard to be an offensive genius without a quarterback. Now, look, to this point, he's still a better head coach than Robert Saleh because the excuse we're giving for Saleh was he never had a quarterback. Well, he had the quarterback, and they still lost in Saleh-like fashion this past Sunday. But Miami's in a rough situation, man. They are. That's why, as bad as the Jets played Sunday, if the Texans beat the Bills and the Texans are home, and the Jets beat the Vikings on Sunday, which is certainly possible, Minnesota's not winning every game. All of a sudden, that Monday night game is for first place, and the Jets have played the Bills well the last 2 years at MetLife. So things change quick in the NFL. We've seen this. The Ravens went from 0-2 to people talking about them being the best team in the AFC now. It happens fast. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Let's continue with your calls right now.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob from Vermont. I am Bob, of course. Hi. How you doing? Good morning, Jake. How you
Good morning,
feeling?
Bob. I feel like you haven't taken that hat off since Craig gave it to you.
Well, I like it.
Okay. Well, you have a lot of hats.
Problem with wearing it?
I don't have a problem with it. I was just making an
Thank you.
observation.
I like it. I like it.
Why are you so testy with me already? We just started.
You're picking on me. I'm wearing a hat that I like.
I'm not picking on you. I made an observation that I don't think you've taken that hat off.
Well, all the baseball teams I picked yesterday won, so that was good.
Okay.
The smelly Astros lost. The Mets won. Was happy about that.
They won? I wasn't aware.
Yeah, the Mets won yesterday. Yep.
Really?
So the Jets should start running at Brendan Allen. That's my guy.
When are you going to learn his name if he's your guy?
Braylon Allen, I said.
You called him Brandon?
I meant Braylon Allen. Okay, is that better?
Yes. Make sure you call him by the right name. You don't like when people call you Robert. He doesn't like when people call him Brandon.
Okay, Braylon Allen. Okay, I made a mistake. Okay. Well, I'll see you at 3:00. Chip, cheerio to you.
That's it? A short call from you.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
What happened on your show yesterday? I heard there was this Goober guy that invaded.
I know it was Gator, embarrassing the hell out of me. Okay, well, I didn't want to get into it. I'm done.
What happened?
I didn't want to bring it up.
I haven't seen it yet, but someone sent me it. Can I play it and then give you my thoughts?
No, well, let me get off first, then you can play it.
All right. Bob. All right, I haven't seen this yet, but apparently a guy by the name of Goober invaded the Bobby show yesterday.
Who's that? You're not coming on. I don't know you. Where are
Hi,
you?
Bobby. Hi.
Shut up. Get out of here. All right, I'll put him in. Who is Goober?
Hi, Goober. I was Sashi. David Brigger. Gonna meet the weed.
Why are you tripping me out?
What does sassy mean? Because I'm, this is a bad word. Mermaid. Whoa. Hi, Bobby.
I'm going to have nightmares tonight.
Sing a song to Sarah, Goober. There's a Bobby. There's a Brady Bunchy. And the Bobby is a booty on a show. There's a Bobby and Mrs. Sassy. And there's the Bobbies and the Sassy in a bunch. The Sassy bunch. Bobby bunch. Everybody do the same as the Bobby bunch.
Who the fuck is that?
Goober.
I don't give a shit about Goober. He's a fucking moron.
You know who he is, Bobby. Who else got 22 jerseys in Joe? That's come on, Bobby. You know that background, Bobby.
Is that VR?
What's the first name you said?
I don't know who it is. Just let him stay on. I'm definitely leaving at 8 o'clock. If I don't get $100, I'm done.
Sarah's terrified.
I got a booty call at 8 o'clock. I got a booty call.
Oh, will you shut up?
I got a booty call at 8 o'clock. I gotta go. What? I got a booty call. Bobby's got to end the show. He's got a booty call. Booty call. Ah! What did he pay for that booty call? That's the question.
That was a weird one. This Goober character, man. Yikes. You know, just a typical day on the Bobby Midnight program, folks. Make sure you guys watch the Bobby show. It's typically after the show ends. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get back to your calls in a second. Super chat here from Who's Her Daddy, who writes in, are there any Jet Gustbusters, or is that a huge licensing issue? You nailed it. You can't use the Jet logo unless it's officially licensed gear. That doesn't mean I might not have a custom Gustbuster Jet umbrella, but I won't say publicly. Or did I just say it? Kyle Clifton just gifted a channel membership. Let's find out who got it. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Clifton's channel membership went to, I don't even see it. It's not even coming up. Who got it? Someone tell me in the chat. We've added 12 members so far. It went to, doesn't even say. I don't even know who got it. But if you got it, make sure you thank Kyle. All right, let's get going with your calls right now. Let's say hello to Gary. Hello, Gary.
What's up, Jake?
Gary?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. So this Adams thing, I mean, he's gone. He's going to be traded, obviously. How many? I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams. I don't think this is just like a foregone conclusion. Like, this isn't the Brooklyn Nets where they just trade you where you want to go. Like, they're going to trade him for the best offer, I would think. They're not going to trade. He wants to go to the Jets. Oh, okay, I'll just trade you to the Jets. Only Sean Marks does that. Who else? How many teams are we competing with? And, like, realistically, do you think that we could put together the best package? And will we? We could, right? We could offer a first, but we're not going to.
They should. I mean, they're desperate. I'm not saying they should offer first. I'm saying the Jets should be able to offer the best package. They have 2 third-round picks. They have their second-round pick. They have the cap flexibility. And I don't think Devante is willing to redo his deal for every team. I think he'd be willing to redo his deal for the Jets and probably take less than what market value would be because he wants to play with Aaron Rodgers for 2 more years.
That's the best, that's the best sales pitch we got. But yeah, anyone that takes him is gonna either.
I would trade my second round pick right now, knowing I have 2/3, and if I wanted to move back into the second round, I could. If that's because I didn't want to trade my second round pick if it was November 5th and you're only having Devante for 8 games in the regular season. But knowing that I would get him from week 6 till the end of the year, plus hopefully the playoffs, like that to me increases the value because you're getting him earlier. If that makes sense.
Agreed. The other thing is, if we do trade for him, as far as cap space goes, does that kind of rule out us realistically then having the money to give Reddick what he's looking for? Like, if we're paying Adams, is there still enough money in the couch cushions to pay Reddick?
I'm sure there would be, but it probably would come at the expense of like someone else down the line. And I'm not paying Reddick at this point. He's too big of a clown for me to now want to give him a multi-year deal. No, thank you.
I just don't.
He had his chance. They had 10 days to get something done after the Patriot win. He never showed up. I don't want to hear it. I'm done with Hassan Reddick. Devante is more likely to play for this team than Reddick ever is.
It's at that point, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I wish Reddick would talk to the media or something so that we know what he wants. Like, is it reasonable? Is it completely unreasonable? Does he just not want to play for the Jets? Does he not like someone in the organization?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. He doesn't say anything. I could tell you
use
this,
your words,
though.
baby. Use your words. You know, like
that's what you say to your wife.
Yeah. It's like, tell me why you're mad.
He, I think, is getting bad advice from close family members or bad advice from just himself and being too dug in and stubborn. Because I'm telling you, his agents, he's represented by Tory Dandy at CAA. Like, there's just no way, a guy who's done that many deals with all these teams with star players that he's represented is telling Hassan Reddick to not show up and cost himself. He's cost himself $9 million after this week.
So you're at the point of no return where you're not even going to get that money back, right? Like, now you're just looking to reduce your debt. You're already losing money. You're not getting $9 million more than you were going to get this year anyway, right? Like, you weren't going to get $9 million more. So you've already lost that money. Now you're at the point of no return. Like, now you have to sign because you're losing money. But he's still, like, it seems like it's not about money, but obviously it's about money. And a holdout is about money. And he's lost $9 million holding out. So it's like you're not gonna get that money back now. There's only 13 games left in the season. It just doesn't make any sense.
The whole thing sucks, man. I mean, look. Yeah, you're obviously very critical of Joe Douglas. This is one of the worst looks he's had as the GM. And people could say, "Oh, Reddick's being a moron." He is. You had Jadeveon Clowney in your building, and you let him leave and go to the Panthers, who suck. Like, sorry.
Yeah, this should have, like, if he was a crazy person, you should have known this. Like, you should have talked to him before you made this trade. I guess looking at it, you're looking at it as a reasonable human being. Like, he has to play for us, right? Like, he has to take a team-friendly deal to some degree. Like, we'll meet him somewhere in the middle, but it's going to be closer to our terms because he's not going to hold out for the whole year. And if he does, he's in the same position next year when he's a year older, so he'll have even that much less negotiating room. So he has to play this year.
Yeah.
He has to take what the best offer that we're willing to give him. And
he's just going to retire. He's never going to play again, and then he'll never pay the fines because he's just like, I'm just done with football.
Why did you hold out? Why don't you just play for the $14 million then? Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're never going to work again, why didn't you just work for the $14 million? Like, to me, it's like the sport that you love for $14 million.
He thought the Jets were going to cave, and they never did, and they haven't to this point. And I don't think they will.
I mean, that ship has sailed, but it's week 4. It's week 5. Like, that ship, clearly they're sticking to their guns. Like,
maybe Reddick's on my flight tonight to London. He's going to surprise us.
Maybe. Are you doing a late show tonight?
I'm going live at 3 instead of 4, so I could get off the air by 4:30ish and then head towards the airport.
And also, you got that backwards. When it's 11 a.m. our time, it'll be 6 p.m., 5 p.m. your time. You got that. I think you said that backwards.
No. I was trying to say if I go live at 10 a.m. London time,
11 a.m. London time.
It'll be early in the morning.
Early.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, never mind.
Yes.
I thought you were saying.
For instance, we normally have, let's say, Fireman Ed Fridays at 10 a.m. That'd be 3 p.m. London time. That's right in the middle of when I'm supposed to be touring a lot of things. So I won't be doing a show at that time. You know what I mean? It's just the schedule's going to be a little off. I'm going to try and make sure we do at least one show each day I'm there. Or certainly a show Thursday, something hopefully Friday, maybe sneak something in Saturday. And then the post-game show will be live at some point Sunday after the game.
And then when are you going home?
Monday morning. But I'm going back in time, Gary. I leave Monday morning London time. I land at 10:30 in the morning U.S. time. I'm time traveling.
This is your first time over there?
I've never been to Europe, correct.
Okay. All right.
Have you been there? What do I need to know?
Okay, so you want to know what London is? Think of New York City.
Yep.
And cut off all the buildings at 8 stories. And that's New York City. I mean, that's London. Like, it's cool. To me, it's just another big city. Like, it's a lot like New York, but not as tall. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's cool. Yeah. And Big Ben, I was standing in front of Big Ben. And I said to, like, one of the locals, like, where's Big Ben? The guy's like, stupid. It's right there. It's like 6 stories. It's like, I'm expecting something huge and massive. I'm literally standing in front of it. I'm like, where's Big Ben? And the guy's like, looking at me like, is something wrong with me? He's like, it's literally right in front of you. I'm like, oh, that's it?
I mean, look, Ben Roethlisberger's a was a big guy, but he's not that big.
I thought he was going to be a lot bigger. That's all. Yeah. I thought he was going to be massive. He was like just kind of big.
Do you think they put chicken with their pasta in London?
Probably. Look, there's great restaurants in London, but just make sure it's like Indian food or Caribbean food. Don't get like
Indian food. I'm not an Indian food guy.
Okay, good. Either a lot of people are. I'm not really either. But there's if you like Indian food, there's lots of good Indian food in London. I'm not an Indian food guy.
People complain about the food in London. That's been like the feedback.
It's the local food. It's local cuisine, which is terrible. If you want to, there's good restaurants. It's just not British food. Or you know what I'm saying? There's no good local restaurants. It's all other ethnicities where there's good food. There's plenty of good restaurants in British. You're just not getting British food.
Rick Kent says Big Ben is the name of the bell, not
bell,
the tower.
not the tower. Yeah, it ain't big. Oh, he's lit now, right? Did he make it there now?
Yeah, he posted the photo of him and Big Ben Roethlisberger in the Discord this morning.
Didn't see it. Okay.
Sean says you're an uncultured swine.
All right. Well, why am I uncultured swine? All right.
Dano says, "What does Gary think about Bowers prospects post Adams?"
I would like to have both of them.
What would you if you're Joe Douglas and you're going to get Devante, but you also could get Brock Bowers? What are you giving up?
Getting both of them is really overkill at this point. I mean,
your entire draft.
Yeah, right. Because if you're getting Bowers, you're getting a 22-year-old. So that's the equivalent of getting a draft pick. So I'll give you a first for that, and then I'll give you a second for Adams. I would do a first and a second for Adams and Bowers. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. I'm just asking the questions here.
Yeah.
Lucas says Gary's actually correct. The food there reeks. I've heard mixed things about the food. I'm sure you could find good food in England. Rick said he had a good meal yesterday.
You just don't get English food. Just don't go get English food. Go get something else.
All right. I'll keep that in mind, Gary. Thank you.
Oh, no, the fish and chips. The fish and chips are phenomenal. Yeah, you could do that. Do you like fish and chips? Do you like fish?
I don't think
fish.
I like some fish. Yeah, I'll try it.
It's better than anything you had in the States, for sure. Try it.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
And then I'm going to introduce the people of the UK to this.
Chicken doesn't go with pasta. Don't you know it's disgusting? Chicken can't go with pasta. Why? Because of the texture. Instead, go get yourself pizza at the closest Shell gas station, because chicken don't go with pasta. I just discovered dogs are pets.
Wait till the UK hears about Gary. We'll have to test out their gas station pizza while we're there too, Gary. Find out how it stacks up to the U.S. Ladies and gentlemen, a super chat from David. $5 donation strictly meant for the London Beer Fund. The other $5 is for that sass attack you just received from Bobby Midnight. Thanks for what you do, brother. I appreciate it, David. Bobby came at me today, guns blazing. Yeah, we had to go back at him. He doesn't like when people call him Robert, but he calls Braylon Allen Brandon. We can't stand for such things. We need Braylon Allen. He's like our second best offensive player right now. Jake in the box with a super chat. Wilson interview with Bart yesterday was revealing. I'm going to do probably a separate thing on this. I think people are completely railroading Garrett Wilson's answer to one of the most long-winded questions that my coworker Bart Scott asked him yesterday. If you watch the full clip, and Wilson was so annoyed, he actually tweeted out the full clip to be like, I didn't rip the Jets. This is what actually happened. I think people got to really calm down. Garrett said nothing bad yesterday at all. And I will talk about this more in depth later when I play the full thing. I was very annoyed seeing ESPN today have the headline on Get Up, Garrett Wilson critical of Jets offense. That's not what he said at all. Not even close. This is why, and I'm in the media, but I try not to do this ever. This is why athletes hate the media. Shit like this. Kyle writes in with a super chat. If Hassan Reddick plays in 24, it's on his current deal for the Jets. Correct. I don't think the Jets at this point are doing anything with his contract. Maybe a slight adjustment, but that's about it. Let's continue right now with your phone calls. Ladies and gentlemen, we say hello to V-Man.
It's time for another V-Man call. Hopefully he's not on the toilet.
Hey, Jake, what's up?
Is that Linus?
No, it's Lucy.
Okay. Hello, Lucy.
Hey, y'all. She wanted to get her camera time. She was nudging me the whole time while I was waiting on the lobby to get on.
She told you that?
No, she's just nudging me like this. She's going like this, and she wants to get on the camera and stuff.
I'm sure.
Yeah, no. So with this Davante stuff, yeah, I feel like really when it comes to it all, the Jets are probably in the best position because honestly, listen, we have the draft. You said we have the draft capital. We know he loves playing with Aaron Rodgers, and honestly, he's gonna want to go somewhere he can win. And where else? They're not gonna send him in division. You're not gonna send him to a rival. They would have to give up a king's ransom, and I don't think Kansas City is that desperate. I don't think they're that I don't think they're desperate enough to say, hey, we had a sloppy offense last year and we still won the Super Bowl, so why do we need Devante?
Sure. Now let me ask you this, V-Man.
Mm-hmm.
You're obviously well versed on Puerto Rican history. Do you know anything about London history, UK history?
Well, let me see. I'm trying to remember a bit. I do remember a bit about it. A little rusty in my brain. A little rusty about it. I do remember. I'm trying to remember something. I do remember. It's mostly about the Blitz and stuff. That's mainly because I'm also an amateur World War II historian, and that actually was the Blitz that saved the British, and that because when the Germans bombed London, it distracted them. It allowed the RAF to repair their airfields, and it allowed them to mass their aircraft into one. Because the problem was, in the early days of the Battle of Britain, they were attacking the British airfields. And the British RAF can only go up together piecemeal. They go up squadron by squadron by squadron, small squadrons. But when they started bombing the cities like London, the RAF were able to mass themselves into one giant squadron and attack the bombers as they were retreating from London with no fighter cover, and that's how they won the Battle of Britain.
How long have you considered yourself a World War II historian?
For a bit, amateur. Like I read a lot of books, a lot of obscure things about World War II.
Any truth to the rumor that they call you Professor V-Man?
No, but can we get back to football? By the way, did you watch any of the MLB Wild? Did you watch any of the MLB Wild Card weekend?
You mean
the wild card games? Sorry, watching the MLB Wild Card games.
Did I watch it? Yes.
Which one?
I had them all on, but I was most paying close attention to the Mets.
Oh yeah, the Mets. Yeah, good. I'm glad the Mets won. My grandmother was a huge Mets fan. She would have loved Francisco Lindor if she was conscious. If she was, all up in her head at the time Lindor became a Met, but she wasn't there.
Is it because he's a really good player? Right. It probably has nothing to do with his heritage, right?
Well, it's both because it's because she's Lindor's from her hometown, so that would have been Lindor's from her hometown, so that's why she would have loved. I mean, a star Puerto Rican baseball player from the same town as you. That's just, of course, like if there was a star player on the Yankees that was from your hometown, wouldn't you just like him just that bit more?
There is. Aaron Judge is from Syosset, New York. A big fan.
No, but it was a great week, and also love watching the Astros lose. And I actually got into a tidbit with an Astros fan yesterday about what constitutes a dispute over what constitutes a dynasty.
I see.
I want to ask you, in your opinion, what constitutes a dynasty?
At least 3 championships over. Let's say three championships over a 5-year span.
Yeah, no,
the Chiefs are a dynasty right now.
That's why I tried to tell this guy the last dynasty in baseball is the Giants. It's not the Astros.
The Giants are tricky because they never won. I feel like you need consecutive championships in that span. The Giants are tricky. You need like 3 and 4, 3 and 5. Like the Giants, they won every other year. So
yeah, but it's consistent success with the same core players, and they do have that. It's Posey, Bumgarner.
It was a radically different.
It's all the same players. It's the same. It's a fair point, but like I said,
let's see. Rick Kent wrote the Ming Dynasty was the last one.
That's a good one. But what I was trying to say is that I'm trying to argue with this guy that the Astros aren't he was using this logic of the Braves being a dynasty in the 90s with one title.
I see.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be I'm gonna watch I think I'm gonna watch the Astros Tigers game just so I can just finally see them all.
Are you working today, V-Man? What's on the agenda?
Oh yeah, no, I go to work at night, but I'm fine right now, so I'm gonna do some errands around the house and then put the games on and watch them.
How does this game affect you for Sunday? 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning? Are you gonna be
I'll be like I'll be on the train I'll be on the train as the game's starting. I'll probably watch it through somebody's live stream. I'll keep up with it through like probably Green Bean's live stream or something like
why
that.
Don't you just download an app and watch it that way?
Wouldn't that have to be like on the NFL app? Because I'd have to pay for that.
NFL app, or if you have cable, use your cable login and download the local.
Yeah, but I'm on the train.
Feed.
I'm on the train. My cable app only works when I'm on my home Wi-Fi.
You DM me and I'll send you a link. You can watch it. All right, I got you.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome, V-Man. All right, I'm gonna start calling you Professor V-Man now.
Oh God. All right, talk to you later.
All right, farewell.
V-Man is here. How we feeling?
High as a kite.
Incredible. The great V-Man, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, Who's Your Daddy writes in, I want you to get a pint stand on your chair and yell to everyone in the pub, who's your daddy? You know what? For enough money, I'll do anything. Tom Ace writes in, the British blew a 13-colony lead. Never forget. This is true. What was the line we the people had before the Patriot game about King George? He wants to see a lot of dead Patriots. J-Quest says, we could live without a show, Jake. Enjoy England. I appreciate it, J-Quest. I'm going to still do my best to produce content. Obviously, it's a little trickier. But you guys know I work hard, and we'll still make sure there's some stuff coming on the channel. All right, let's try and rapid fire through some more calls here because I got things to do before 3 o'clock today for our second show. Doug in his room is next. Hello, Doug.
People try to react like good teams don't have bad losses. The Chiefs lost to the Raiders last year. You know, it happens. It's the NFL. Like, you know, the movie Any Given Sunday, it can happen. It sucks. It's demoralizing when it happens. But, you know, it's not like college football when there's these huge talent gap in teams where, like, well, there's like an Alabama playing an FCS team. Every player in the NFL is an NFL player. So upsets happen. It's just the way things happen in the NFL.
Correct. But even if you're taking that approach, the way they lost that game
it's demoralizing. But like still good teams have like weird demoralizing losses. It happens.
They do, but we've seen that game too many times from this head coach. That's the problem.
That I agree. I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate.
A bad loss was getting destroyed by the Niners in week 1.
Yeah.
Losing 10-9 to Bo Nix, like now it just puts a lot of pressure. Like if they beat the Broncos, then lost in London, well, I personally would be livid because I'm flying out there to see it.
Yeah.
That would suck. Like it's a non-conference loss. You lost. All right. You're 3-2. Go beat the Buffalo. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's normal. Losing 10-9 when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, we should be past that now when you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, very, very true. And then, like I said, but like, you know, just average Jets and they go out and beat the Vikings on Sunday. That's the average Jet fan experience. And then you're going to have all the BS. Like I was working last night, but you see on TV, like, because on SportsCenter, are the Jets falling off already? It's like they just need something to talk about to screw us over because the media hates the Jets, or they just use us for clicks because
correct.
We got it.
I mean, the Jets are being discussed this week like they're 0-4. The 0-4 team is Jacksonville. There are 7 Jaguar fans. Nobody gives a flying you know what about the Jaguars. The Jets 2-2. Oh, they have Aaron Rodgers. Oh, we can manufacture some drama with him and Saleh. Like that's what they're gonna do.
Also, I was stunned by the language from Bobby listening to that clip from the last night. Stunned. Does he not know this is a kid's show and he's cursing like that? Just terrible.
To be fair, I don't know if his show is a kid's show.
That's fair. That's fair. And then would this be the first time in your life if the Devante Adams news broke at 9, you'd be happy for delayed flight?
Well, it depends how strong the Wi-Fi is on JetBlue.
Fair enough. Jake, have a great rest of your day.
Doug, I appreciate it. Let's say hello to Keith Best, who's next. Hello, Keith.
Hey, Jake, thanks for having me on. My voice is a little crooked, but I was thinking I'm going to take Adams. I was thinking it's been this last couple of days has been really rough. I haven't signed on that much or wanted to chat with anybody because I was so disgusted under a loss. But hopefully we make a gain out of it. Now, can we beat the Vikings? I think so. The team we have now, Braylon Adams, Allen, you gotta mix this stuff up. Our wide receiver, Williams. I mean, these guys are great, and they just got to get into the mix. I don't know. I really don't have much to say. I'm just sitting here listening. I love listening to Nick this morning. My voice is really bad right now.
Keith, I'm letting you go, man. I don't want you to strain your voice called into a Jet show. Your health is way more important, my man. I appreciate your support. Thank you for calling in. You made some great points. I don't want to strain your voice, though, man. I don't want that on my plate, that responsibility. I want you to get better. Rest your voice, my man. I appreciate it. Thanks for gifting a channel membership earlier to someone. Jake in the box is next. Hello, Jake.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, man? I don't have you called before? I know
No,
you
this is the first time I've called in on any sports show. But I'm a longtime Packer fan, huge Aaron Rodgers fan, like super fan. He's my favorite athlete of all time. But I used to follow the Jets back in the day. I said this last time in the super chat last year, but my cousin is Mark Sanchez by marriage. So my non-blood uncle, who's married to my aunt, who I grew up with, his nephew is Mark Sanchez.
Really? That's great.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I've been trying to get Mark on the show for years. It's been a dead end. I've tried to agents, marketing guys, put in the good word. We'd love to get him on. That'd be sick.
That'd be really fun. But going back to my super chat earlier, I feel like because I watched a lot of content since Aaron Rodgers has joined the team, and I thought just like the entire body language of like Garrett Wilson this year has been very reserved, not as happy. And even on the win of the Patriots, he still seemed down. And when I saw the interview yesterday, I figured it was like really revealing in the sense of like him, even in success, he's not really completely bought into the idea without trying to make like huge drama out of it. But reading between the lines was that he was trying to, he's not happy in the role he's playing. He doesn't see himself being successful that way.
Did you see the clip or did you just see the quotes? Because I
didn't even know that it had made headlines until you said it on the show. But I watched the regular full interview yesterday, and I was like, it's like he wants to say something, but he doesn't want to cause drama and distractions. But
I think he's frustrated with his lack of production. Like the Jets should be frustrated. He didn't have a good game. You know, he had a huge fumble early. You know, Garrett's the kind of guy that you know, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, even when they were losing the last 2 years and he was putting up, you know, decent numbers, all things considered. I think he's frustrated. You know, he's the focal point of every defense right now. That's why they need Devante to help alleviate some of that. And you know, I think this is a good week for him, right? I mean, the Vikings corners are Stephon Gilmore, who at this point is an aging veteran, and, you know, Byron Murphy, who is a nice player, but it's not Surtain, it's not Gonzalez, it's not Snead, it's not Ward. Like he's faced like some of the best corners in the league to start the season. He also probably has to deal with Sauce a lot in practice. So he's just like, man, when am I going to get an opportunity to break out?
But when you were saying about the offense, saying like, well, I'm watching NFL games like all the time, and we're not doing anything interesting outside of, you know, just beat your man and just know, like, be on the same page as Rodgers, which like I said, I'm all about Rodgers. I think they can be successful. But I don't know, you know, the Jets one Jets drive when Bart was on there after. I don't know if he pre-recorded that or not, but he even said, like, I felt like he was talking to Garrett Wilson and saying, like, yo, you guys need to just, like, buy in, like, zip lip. I thought it was very powerful when he says, like, you're not, when you get to an old last couple years in the league and, and you're kind of, like, hanging your head and you're not buying in and just doing your job, like, that's going to be you one day. So you need to buy in right now and, do your job because it starts with you. Well, it starts from the top, but then you need to buy in. And even if you watch that interview, that scrum with Aaron Rodgers when Garrett Wilson, I thought he was being a little not Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall. He was kind of playing coy a little bit when he was like when he asked Aaron Rodgers along the lines of like, "Oh, do you want to talk about how we're doing like a lot of blocking for you and whatnot?"
I think that you're looking too much into it, man. Like I think
because they're boys. I think Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall are like really tight, and they're probably speaking candid, and they're probably like really not happy with the game plan and the system.
Well, they haven't
them
played
being
well though.
most
They should be
successful.
unhappy with themselves, Jake. They have not played to their standard. We hold these guys
I'm
to
with
high
you.
standards because
I'm with you on that.
Like they have to play better. Brees Hall had the worst game of his professional life. Like these guys are really good football players. We've seen it. They now have the ingredients around them to be great with Rodgers at quarterback, and they haven't played it yet. Played like that yet. So I think they're going to be okay. It's still a new offense for them. They're 4 games in. They're 2-2, not 0-4. They're 12 days removed from playing an unbelievable game offensively where everything was rolling that night. I think you're reading too much into it. I think guys are just frustrated. They lost an ugly game. They all know they should have won.
But even when they won, you could still feel that little sense of like
because he didn't put up big numbers. He was annoyed that Gonzalez was shadowing him. He still scored a touchdown. He made a nice catch on that play. Rodgers threw about as good of a ball as possible. Garrett was also, I think, pissed on the play before. He didn't score a touchdown on that screen they caught from him. He couldn't break that last tackle and get in. He was annoyed. That's why he said to Rodgers in the huddle, "Go back to me. I'm getting open." And Rodgers said he committed the cardinal sin of quarterbacking, already deciding where he was going to go with the ball before the snap. So
I'll end with this.
I don't think there's an issue with Brees at all other than he needs to play better. He's frustrated. And I think Garrett is just going through the growing pains that star receivers have to go through when you play with Aaron Rodgers, learning how unique he is as a quarterback.
When I'm watching Brees, even before the last game, I was already like saying like, man, Braylon Allen looks way more electric on the field. And I thought they should have played him more. And it was even more frustrating watching on this most recent game. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't know what it is with Brees. He doesn't look as free. And it looks like he's like running with, like he's like bracing for impact or something like that. Like he knows he's gonna get hit. Like he doesn't have confidence that he's gonna break through or whatnot. But doesn't look as free and slashy as I'd seen him in last year's game. But hopefully he turns it around. But I think Braylon Allen looks really good for now.
Absolutely, Jake. Great call. Tell Mark we love him for the road playoff wins. That's pretty cool. Look, they haven't played well, man. Like Brees, I don't think was bad the first 3 games. He still scored a touchdown in each game. He had a great catch, beating a linebacker for a touchdown as a receiver. I think at the end of the day, what happened on Sunday hopefully is a wake-up call for both guys. Garrett, I don't think has played great all year. He's been okay. He was bad on Sunday. Same with Brees. They were both bad. Brees was horrendous, man. And Allen, to this point, has outplayed him. And if it's going to rain again on Sunday, use Braylon Allen. I think Sunday was an outlier link. I think they're going to allow an outlier game. I don't think the offense will be that bad again. I really don't. John writes in, Jake, are you going to stay up for the Yankees game Saturday in London? Absolutely. 11:38 p.m. first pitch. All right. Couple more calls. We're going to do Rob, Scott, and John. Hello, Rob.
Hey, Jake. Have a good, safe trip, buddy, first of all.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to say, kind of Nick Faria was kind of saying what I said to you the other day, that we got to get Malachi Corley involved somehow, some way, even if supposedly he's not completely ready, just to get him out there like a gimmick play, a screen pass. He's supposed to be the Yak King. You know what? Let him be the Yak King. I would have more confidence in going to him than I would to Gibson right now. I'm really starting to think that they got to start moving a little bit away from Gibson and more towards Malachi Corley, in my opinion. That's point number 1 that I want to make. Point number 2, Jake, I'm starting to think between you and I that the importance of a pass rusher right now is not as important as getting a Devante Adams. I think Devante Adams is more important right now because you know what? Let's be honest. You and I discussed this. If Devante Adams was with the Jets already, we would have never lost that Denver game because Aaron Rodgers would have had another guy to go to.
They're 3-1 right now if Devante Adams is a Jet.
Say again?
They'd be 3-1 if Devante was a Jet. They win the Broncos
yeah.
game.
Well, come on. I think he accounts for at least a point. So absolutely positively. So right now, I'll be honest with you. I'm with you. I'm sick of the Reddick crap. He can go to hell. I don't give a shit if he plays for the Jets or not. I really don't anymore. I'm like fed up. So you know what? I would put more stress, more importance on getting a guy like Devante who wants to play with Aaron. He already knows how to play with Aaron Rodgers. And then if we need another pass rusher, we could always go and try to acquire a Clowney. Someone like Clowney is good against the run. He's a good pass sacker, and that would take care of that problem. And you know what? Hassan can go kick rocks. I really don't give a crap. So I think it's more importance right now that we go after a guy like Devante because we would not have lost that game. We'd be 3-1 right now. Even if it was a sloppy, dirty game, we would be 3-1. The only last thing that I want to say, Jake, and I'll let you go, was I saw Aaron. Now, I don't know if this was because of Garrett Wilson insisting, hey, I want the ball, I want the ball, I want the ball. You see Aaron where Andrew broke down that play where he wasn't even looking downfield. He just passed it to Garrett, and Garrett got tackled immediately. And there's Conklin. It would have been a floater pass, and that would have been a touchdown. And that's untypical of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers doesn't do stuff like that. I'm shocked that Aaron Rodgers was not also looking a little downfield, excuse me, to extend the play. Could that have been because Garrett was kind of like on his case, like, come on, I need the ball, I need the ball, I need the ball. And Aaron Rodgers was like, you know what? Let me make him happy. Let me hit him now. And he didn't look downfield for Conklin, which would have been a touchdown. And again, that would have won the game. So that kind of teased me off too. I don't know. What do you think about that, buddy? And have a great trip, buddy. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, please, Jets.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rob from Glenhead. I think it was just a bad game for everyone. And Rodgers still did some great things in the game. But he had an off game. That's what happened there. You know, I think you just chalk it up to that. The weather sucked, so the Jets weren't prepared for it. And you know what? As bad as they played, here's the positive spin. They played awful, right? Quarterback wasn't good by his standards. Your best offensive players, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, both probably had two of the worst games of their professional lives, especially Breece. The O-line, which had been really good in pass protection, played awful. All these things happen, yet if Greg Zuerlein, who's been money as a Jet, hits a kick, you're 3-1 right now. So if you were like 5% better, if you were 3% better, you're probably 3-1 right now. And you're in first place in the division. You know? Now, that's the positive spin. The negatives is everything we've said this week about how it's alarming this happened because this is a game we've seen from this coaching staff far too many times. We should be past this, we all thought, with Aaron Rodgers. But you hope it's an outlier game. And as bad as they played, they're so close to being 3-1 right now. And you know what? They could have lost the Titans game. So you know what? Maybe it's they even out. You lost one. You won one. You played great against New England. You played poor against San Fran. You're 2-2. Season starts Sunday. You're 2-2. You'd be in the playoffs if the season ended right now. That's why it's like as bad as they played, like everything is still in front of them. I sound like Aaron Boone right now. It's all right, but it's true. Here we go. A couple more
Scott
calls.
calling in. Ah! Whoa, what's the matter? What the hell is that?
Hey, what's up, Jake?
Hello, Scott.
First things first, thanks for taking my call. 5 people out there, tell 5 people to subscribe and hit the like button. You all know 5 people, make it happen. And most important, good health, good luck over in London. Hope the itinerary, with customs and everything works out. Any delays,
Thank you.
First things first. Anytime. You know, forget Devante right now. You look at our team; it was atrocious. Just offensively, concepts, no hot receivers, players, receivers. Just not even looking back. Quarterback doesn't have anything to throw. He was pressured all the time, all game long. The line was just missing players. I mean, they were coming through unscathed, left and right. And Denver's not a bad team. We lost a game because we had 13 penalties. I mean, not just solely. We had 30 more yards and penalties than their quarterback threw for. And you still had a chance to win. So what I'm saying, guys, is if Devante Adams comes, that's a tremendous help. But what do you have to look for? Tyron and Olu and Moses and the line. The body language is all wrong. You know, Brees, I mean, false starts, false snaps. I mean, just sloppy, just like the Giants in Dallas. However, I don't think we're finished yet. If that's our worst game, you look at the other teams around the league, either their offense and defensively, explosive power, like, say, the Lions with Braylon Williams, Laporta, St. Brown, and then they have Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and Gup. We played pathetic. And I don't care how anyone can say anything else. If that's our worst, look what the future can hold. I mean, I know we got to be healthy. There's an upside to it. And if you bring in a guy like Devante, listen, there's still room for a defensive tackle, a defensive end before the trade line. You know, you got to get a trading partner, but there might be somebody, or maybe someone off the practice squad can help out. You know, initially. The stuff in the media, oh my God, I can't even take it anymore. All of them. It's just, they just use one cliche word. They're going to use analytics, which is an integral part of NFL, but that's all they use. Or it's just mind-boggling. But back to our coach, do I think we can win a game with our offense? Coaching-wise, scheme-wise, the game plan, play calling, utilizing personnel in certain situations, I'm not sure right now. We'll see against the Vikings.
I mean, they've won 2 games already with this coaching staff. You know, one of them was a great performance too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm not sure, and they're going to say, well, you know, New England's slow. I still think we're a playoff team. And if this team is firing, I think in all facets, all 53 players, you know, you look at, even if we get Devante, Wilson, Williams, Brees, and Braylon, that's rough for the NFL.
Yeah,
So,
they got to
I mean,
use them.
there
They
is-
got look, and Brees and Garrett got to play like we know they're certainly capable of playing. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. He's getting double teamed. He's getting frustrated. You can see it. Even like you said, even in Sauce Gardner, he's all over him. You know, he gets one touchdown. That's about it. He's almost like an influencer right now. You have to influence another defensive compromised player to get somebody else the ball, because that's how they're handling over and under him all game long. So his numbers are going to go down. Brees' numbers are going to go down with touches with Braylon. But that's the other issue too. Today's game, you're not getting the touches that you used to get way back when. Just pound the guy or just give him the rock. The players have to get used to being in the rhythm, into the mix with not getting touches. And that's a little bit difficult when you're not on the field the whole time. I think that's an aspect as well. But
Scott, the hair today,
you know,
very straight. I like it.
You like that? Yeah, we're doing the geyser thing. That's what we're doing now.
It's tremendous. So,
you know, this girl can go ahead.
Continue. What you were going to say was probably going to be better. Go ahead.
Oh, this girl can let her hair down every once in a while. You know, just like the question is, do I let my hair down? What's underneath Mr. Hefner's robe? These are pressing questions, not so much our offense, our coaching staff.
I see.
Pressing minds want to know, you know? Yes, indeed. So,
Scott, thanks for the call.
That's about it for now. Yes, anytime. Thanks for having me on. Gang Green.
You're really scared of Scott. That hair is fucking crazy.
Thank you, Scott. Honestly, an excellent call out of Scott. The football points were on point. The big fella. Love the hat, Jake. Hat's dope. JD, go save your boy. Get DA. Get him, big fella. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Look, here's the bottom line. Joe Douglas is not here if this team doesn't make the playoffs. Devante Adams exponentially, I think that's the word, increases your chance at being a playoff team. What are we talking about? Do they need a pass rusher more? You could argue they do, but the problem is you're not going to get a player as good as Devante that could pass rush. Unless it's Hassan Reddick, and that doesn't seem like we're anywhere close to that happening. You can't bank on that. If you don't get Devante, someone else will. And you could just try and outscore teams. Rodgers never had great defenses when they were winning 13 games every year. This defense could still be, I don't know if they're great, but they're very good, right? I mean, really, since the second half of the Titans game, they have played very well defensively. Now, the teams they're playing, I get it, not great, but still, they have stabilized things after a brutal start. This week will be interesting because the Vikings come in red hot on offense. But you got the personnel for the Vikings, man. Trust your corners. Confuse Darnold. Don't let him sit back there and have all day. Blitz them. Make them make quick decisions. And trust your corners. And Sauce, for the love of God, better be on Justin Jefferson in obvious passing. I know he's not going to shadow him the whole game, right? No one does that. It's not going to happen. Like, Surtain wasn't even on Garrett the whole game. He was on Garrett for, I think it was like 70% of the game when you look at the snap count. But red zone, third down, obvious passing situation. So 2 minutes at the end of the half, end of game. Sauce Gardner needs to be on Justin Jefferson. And DJ Reed was great last Sunday. I thought him or Quincy were the best two defensive players on the field watching that game back. But I'm not going to get beat by Justin Jefferson. If Jordan Addison beats you, if someone else beats you, fine. I'll live with it. But I'm using my best on their best. And if Saleh and Ober can't make that adjustment, then that's on them. They don't deserve to be here if this team fails. And if that's a reason why. JJ says, clearly not a playoff team with this coaching staff. Until proven otherwise, that's fair. But you know what? If the season were to end today, JJ, they actually would be a playoff team right now. That's why the season is far from over. John, you're our last caller. Wrap us up today, John.
Hey, what's going on, Jake? Yeah, I mean, look, Devante Adams has to get done. I think it's going to get done pretty quickly. I think the Jets have no excuse. They have no excuse if they don't land him, in my opinion. You're right, Joe Douglas. He's not. If this trade flops, Devante Adams doesn't do well, gets hurt or something with the contract ends up being bad that they rework. He's not going to be here for the consequences. There's no excuse not to do this trade. You have to do it. Schefter lists the Jets and the Saints as his two likely destinations based on what Adams wants. The Saints had to rework like $11 million in cap space. I think they're just being used for leverage. I don't think it's even possible they even land him. It's going to take a lot. So the Jets have no excuse. They got to get this done, in my opinion. And then this week, I'm thinking about it more. I'm getting more and more concerned. I think we obviously win this game, but I mean, the Vikings have the best coaching staff and arguably the best coach in the league. Kevin O'Connell's a tremendous coach, and this game might come down to who ends up out coaching, one another. I don't think Saleh has the edge. I don't think he's even close. He's not even in the same ballpark as O'Connell. So I'm a little concerned. I think the Jets, even doing the obvious things like running Braylon Allen when you need 1 yard, I can't trust that the Jets are going to do that. Shadowing Jefferson for most of the game, can't trust that they're going to do that. Giving Darnold exotic looks. They can't rush for this whole game, Jake. If they rush for the most of the game, they're not going to win the game. They have to utilize the blitz in this game. I cannot stress that enough.
Agreed. I think they didn't do it as much last week because they were concerned about Nick's taking off. And like, Sam's a good athlete, but he's not a runner.
Yeah, he's not.
So look, we know Sam Darnold can be confused when you give him a bunch of different looks. He's turnover prone. Even in the games this year, I think Sam Darnold's had an interception in each game so far this year, all but one. He had a fumble and an interception against the Packers on Sunday. Like, we know there's probably going to be 2 or 3 plays where that ball is going to be in the air and the Jets have to come down with it, and that's how you could win this game.
Yeah, absolutely, Jake. Jake, safe flight, buddy. Enjoy London.
John, great call. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate it. Look, I mean, the Vikings have a clear coaching advantage in this game. That doesn't mean the Jets can't win. It doesn't mean they won't have their bad game like the Jets just did or like the Ravens had already, the Bills. Go down the line, man. Like, look how many teams are 2-2 in the AFC right now. That's why the Jets are a playoff team if the year ended. It's a bad loss, and now they got to correct things. Anyway, we'll be back at 3 p.m. for our final show stateside before we head to London. Hit the like button on your way out of here. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do so. Reminder, this show's available in audio form on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So if you want to listen to the show, download it and take it on the go. It is now available to do so. Most importantly, join the Patreon. Best way to support me for less than a cup of coffee a month. You get 15% off every item in the merch store. Access to our private Discord channel. Bonus shows not available for the YouTube audience. You could message me off air directly and a whole lot of other perks as well. Name of the intro, and the list goes on and on and on. Check it out, patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Thanks to all the callers. Couldn't have done it without you. Thanks to everyone who gifted a channel membership, everyone who submitted a super chat, everyone who tuned in. You guys are awesome. Thanks for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Jets could change the entire narrative with a win on Sunday. Let's hope they can get it done. I'll talk to you guys soon. JETS, 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 Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you in about 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, the dream season we've been waiting for is happening.